Hi, my name is Paul, and this is my Chrysler 2000 Town Country, and I'm going to be putting inner tie rods on it today. And I thought I'd make a demonstration video on how to do it. I already did the other side. I'm going to be doing this side now. First thing you're going to want to do is get the car jacked up and get a jack stand under it. Exercise proper safety. Support it in a good place. This car has a unitized body with a subframe under it, so that's where I have the jack stand set. You're going to want to remove the wheel after you get it jacked up and secured. Here's all the tools I used on the other side to do the job. Over here is the new tool I bought to remove the tie rod from the rack and pinion. It's in there pretty tight, and it's kind of recessed in an area where it's hard to get at, but you can take this and you'll see it in there once I get it installed, but you're clamping it on this area right here. This is threading into your rack and pinion. Here's the old inner tie rod that I removed already. You can buy these tools at AutoZone. I'm not exactly sure what I paid. I think it was about $14.95. I believe it was under $20. Not very expensive, and it worked really well on the first side I did. After you get the wheel off, the first thing you're going to want to do is remove this tie rod right here. So loosen this locking nut right here first, and you may have to get a wrench adjustable on right here to kind of hold it, because it can pivot like that. And then get a wrench on here, loosen that locking nut, and then you're going to get underneath here and remove this cotter pin. You have to bend it straight again, get on the end here probably with a wire cutter and pull it out, and then unscrew this castle nut right here until it's flush with the bolt it's screwed onto, and get a hammer. You're going to have to use quite a bit of persuasion probably and pound on it until it pops the tie rod up, and then you can remove the tie rod out of the hole that it's bolted in here on the steering knuckle. After that, well, you're going to have to unscrew the tie rod, and I'll show that. You count the revolutions so that when you screw it back on the new inner tie rod here, it gets on the same position so your alignment isn't too far off. You're also going to be removing this, looks like an accordion right here. You have to get this clamp off here that you can squeeze with the pliers and slide it down. On the inside, I have one over here I removed. On the other side of that accordion looking thing, there's a clamp. It looks like this, and you're going to have to probably pry it up, pop it off with a screwdriver. That's what I did with this one, and it came popped off. And then you can slide that accordion looking boot off there. I had to use a screwdriver to stretch it right in here after I got the clamp off and the inner clamp, because there's like a groove in the inner tie rod here, and it kind of clicks onto that. But if you get a screwdriver into there and pry, you can stretch it a little and get it past that, and then you're going to be sliding it off here after you remove the tie rod and the locking nut. I just finished removing the cotter pin out of the castle nut, and I whacked on this several times with a hammer after I unscrewed it and made it flush with the end. Popped it loose. So we unscrew the castle nut now, and I already loosened the locking nut over here for the outer tie rod. So you lift it out and Just start unscrewing it like that, and then you count how many times before it comes off. I had to use a torch on the locking nut there because it doesn't want to come off. It's so floated on. So if you have access to a torch, that's going to be the best thing you can do. Otherwise, you might have to soak it with some penetrating oil, maybe even overnight. But you're going to want to heat it up so it's cherry red. If you have a torch that's capable of doing that, that's the best thing you can do to get it off. And once it's glowing really good, then you can get on there and it should unscrew really easy. That's it. And there it is, still glowing red a little bit, came right off. So the next thing you're going to want to do is, there's the clamp that holds the boot on in there. Get that off there. And I have to get the inner clamp off that boot and slide it off there. Then unscrew the tie rod. Okay, here's the inner clamp I removed. I just grabbed it by this part here that steps out with a wire cutters and twist it, and it popped right off. I got my screwdriver in here, nice long skinny one, slid in there and kind of worked it around as I twisted this and pulled, and it popped past the groove that's in the inner tie rod here that it kind of locks into. And now you just slide it off. Now this particular one has a small steel tube coming out of here, and there's a small clamp that I removed just by squeezing it with the pliers and slid it back. Slid the tube out of there. That's a vent for inside this, and it goes straight into the other one. It just connects the two. Okay, I have my new tool I bought from AutoZone clamped on to the inner tie rod. It clamps on there very similar to a muffler clamp. It's on there really nice and snug. And I have my 1/2-inch drive breaker bar on there, 3/8-inch drive extensions with an adapter to the 1/2-inch drive breaker bar. Now you just try to pop it. Trying to do this holding the camera isn't easy. Yep, there it went. See, it's loose now. Now you just take off the tool, clamp onto it, and unscrew it. Okay, I have the tool loosened up. I should still slide it off, just like that. Yep. And then I just start unscrewing the inner tie rod. Just like that. There's a spacer on there made out of plastic. I'm going to want to put that on the new tie rod. And I don't know if the camera's going to show it, but you can see that little bit of red on there. That's thread lock. So before you screw the new tie rod in, you're going to want to put some red thread lock on there, just like the factory did. And that's what it looks like. That's the racking pinion portion that the inner tie rod screws into. Alright, the new tie rod is tightened up. I used the same tool to remove it that I used to tighten it. The next step, I'm going to put the boot back on. Now the factory clamp, once you take it off, it's destroyed. So you toss that aside. And I'm going to be using a strap tie like this. Make sure that you use a weather resistant type strap tie, something that can handle the cold and the heat, and that'll work just fine. The other clamps are reusable, so you slide your boot back on there and pretty much do everything reverse the way you took it apart. I hope this video was helpful, and enjoy doing the job if you can.